The U.S. says its forces destroyed military sites on the Iranian Karg Island, vital to its oil network, threatening that the country's oil infrastructure could be next if Iran continues to interfere with the passage of ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran said no oil infrastructure was damaged in the U.S. strikes and warned that oil and energy infrastructure owned by U.S.-linked firms would be targeted if the United States struck its oil facilities. The U.S. and Israel have continued with large-scale strikes on Iran, with retaliatory Iranian attacks hitting Israel and neighboring Gulf states as it squeezes the world economy by threatening to strike oil tankers on the Strait of Hormuz. Trump said the U.S. Navy would start escorting tankers through the key waterway very soon to restore oil exports. A drone also struck the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad on Saturday, security sources said. The attack took place shortly after 2 Iran-backed fighters were killed in strikes on Iraq's capital. After 14 days of war, the United States is reportedly sending reinforcements that could open up options beyond the airborne campaign.
NATO leaders are imploring US President Donald Trump to reverse his decision to ease sanctions on Russian oil. Overnight on Thursday, Trump said he would temporarily lift the sanctions to increase global oil supply amid soaring prices due to the war in Iran. Speaking at NATO's cold response military exercise in the Arctic, the leaders of Germany, Norway and Canada said that removing sanctions, albeit temporarily, against Russia was the wrong move.
As you all know, we had a video conference with the G7 leaders on Wednesday, and 6 out of 7 were clearly the opinion that we should not release the sanctions against Russia. And we were a little bit surprised that we heard this morning that the American government decided differently. This is definitely not our view.
In terms of a G7 meeting, I'm sure there will be additional G7 meetings. The convening of those meetings is the responsibility of the presidency. We all have direct lines into the president, and we'll use them.
Oil prices have spiked to a high not seen since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. The effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz, which is flanked by Iran and is a passage for 1/5 of the world's oil output, means crude oil prices have remained high despite this easing. Moscow has welcomed Trump's decision, saying that the US and Russia are aligned. German Defence Minister Boris Pistorius says he's concerned about the impact on the war in Ukraine. Now Russia will have access to more revenue. How worried are you about the impact of Donald Trump's decision to allow Russia earn millions of dollars in oil revenue, the impact that's going to have on Ukraine and also for NATO security, then that it has so much more money?
Very much concerned. I mean, the only thing at the end to really force Putin at the negotiation table is to make clear that his revenues out of export of oil and gas will find an end. And this is the opposite of that. For that, it's just a real disadvantage to be diplomatic for Ukraine.
Well, as we heard there from all 3 leaders, they fundamentally disagree with Donald Trump's decision to allow Russia to earn millions, potentially billions of dollars from oil revenue. They say they're going to lobby him to try to get him to change his mind. It's not clear if that's going to happen. But the wider question, of course, is the impact that this is going to have on the war in Ukraine and wider NATO security. Shona Murray, Euronews, Bardufoss, Norway.
Dutch and Portuguese intelligence agencies have warned that Russia is running a global cyber campaign to infiltrate WhatsApp and Signal accounts of government officials, diplomats and military personnel. Scammers use different methods to trick users into sharing passwords, compromising accounts, reading conversations, accessing files and launching new phishing campaigns targeting contacts, Portugal's Security Information Service said. Artificial intelligence tools are increasingly used to impersonate technical support staff or trusted contacts. Scammers collect targets' voice recordings and images to engage in conversations via messages, phone calls or video calls. Dutch intelligence and security services said that Russia is behind the attacks. They confirmed government officials are among the targets and victims and warned journalists may also be targeted by Moscow.